Hello, this is Bee with Stitchy Witchy Bee. This is actually my second attempt at doing this, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not perfectly sold on this format, but we are going to give it a try at least for this mid-year whip parade, also my first whip parade. We'll see where we are with it. Brief introduction, because I'll be doing most of my about me at the end. I'll put in chapters, but I figure I'm not going to do the whole, 10 pages of backstory on a recipe before giving the recipe. We're just going to jump straight into the whip parade. But brief introduction. Again, my name is Bee. I go by she, her. If that is an issue for you, that I want to introduce myself that way, this probably won't be the channel for you, but you are welcome to stay. I invite you to hang out, but that is something that I think is important and will be an element to my channel. Okay, we're going to jump pretty much straight into this. The first project I'm going to show is one of the oldest ones. When I came into 2024, at least in terms of projects I still have in progress, I only have 2 whips carried over from the beginning of the year. This is one of them. It is French, so bear with me. Dans la Biblioteque. I purchased this pattern off of Etsy by Diana70. It is just done on 14 count cream Ada. Just going with called for DMC, nothing too fancy there. I am about 10% with what you see here. I wanted to try to get over to this border, at least find out where the edge was. A common thing that you will probably notice is that, at least for these smaller projects, I don't give myself very much of an edge on my projects. I want to use as much of the fabric as possible if I'm using pretty fabric. So that will probably be a recurring frustration for some people who prefer to have a nice wide margin on their projects. A recurring theme that we will discover as we go through these, I was noticing when I tried to film this the first time, is I will do just enough to start a project and then move on. It's very annoying to myself, but that is where we are. This is a very, very small start for a Sal for Hocus Pocus. It's called I Put a Spell on You by Olivia Lee Studios. I'm just doing this on 14 count Ada and the called for DMC. I'm only 4.24%. I do use Pattern Keeper as much as possible for my projects. I really like using it to cross things off in a way that just makes sense for my brain, personally. The only reason I even did this portion was so I could find the border and try to work on it. This Sal is completely finished. It is all available, so you can see the finished piece if you want to. I'm just kind of doing it after the fact because I really like Hocus Pocus. It's very cute. It's a movie I very much enjoy. Another stitch along. I do a kind of a variety, mostly not full coverage, but quite a few stitch alongs. But I do have a few full coverage pieces that I'm either working on or want to be working on throughout the year. This one, trying to fold it in a way that makes sense for what I'm showing. This is the Cups Stitch Along by Witch's Garden Crafts. And this is also Witch's Garden Crafts fabric, 14 count Sparkly Mermaid Dreams. I am using the called for DMC with a few possible minor embellishments. I have a Rico thread that's metallic that's really pretty that I might add in, but because the fabric itself is so sparkly, I probably won't need to do anything with that. Let's see, I tried to deal with any unevenness with my camera, and I'm not sure if I fixed it, because that's part of why I'm re-filming this. We will see. I'll try to use this as a guideline. I have it here and I'm using it, might as well try to utilize it properly. Hopefully that is a little bit more even. Let's see. Like I said, I have a few full coverage, not that I've started, but that I want to be starting soon-ish. Hesitation. I have a few thoughts about what I want to do with them to make them a little bit easier to do, but we'll see. We'll talk about some of that in plans, which will be after the initial whip parade. Sorry, I'm filtering through a few things here. Okay, so I have a very, very small start for this one. But I like him quite a bit. Or I will like him when he's done. This is Scandinavian Hare and Deer by NARAxStitchPatterns. I'm doing this on just 18 count oatmeal. It might be Fiddler's. I'm not 100% sure. Probably. I think I did make a few small tweaks on the floss based on just what I had in stash. But nothing too crazy. I am 2.89% on this. And for cups, I'm actually not sure. I don't have the full pattern in Pattern Keeper at the moment. I only have the border, so I couldn't tell you exactly how far I am there. This one is called Vampire, but personally I think Vampiress fits a little bit better. This one is by Create Your Desire, just being done on 14 count Ada. I'm doing it mostly with the called for, with some very minor exchanges, like this black. Instead of 310, I'm using Gomez by Roxy Floss Co. I am currently 6.97%. I just really love the shape of her hair and a few other details for this pattern. I think it's very, very cute. This next one is one of two patterns I'm working on related to the movie The Witch, which is a favorite of mine. When I eventually get a tattoo, it will involve this saying in particular, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" There's another section similar to this down below the text. Here in Deliciously is where I'm using a bit of that metallic black thread. I will be also peppering it in a little bit with some of the design elements up here, especially any flames, any kind of more occult symbols, things like that. I think it would look really pretty. I'm not 100% sure what color this is. I know it's just a basic brown, maybe stone, something similar to that, just a 14 count white chelt. However you pronounce that, I might be pronouncing it wrong. Yeah, this is one of two Black Phillip / from The Witch related patterns that I have. Let's see. Oh, I tried to organize these a bit better when I did this before, and it didn't quite stick. There's a series of patterns by a designer called Haunted Frames, or that goes by Haunted Frames. And I love their book patterns. This one, I believe, is called Book of Warrior Queens. It will feature some bees, and I will be possibly working on that for an August stitch along. This is on Miss Die by Bestitch Me. They just called it Oops. It's an 18 count Ada. I believe using called for or just subbing out for what I had in stash that's close. When possible, I try really, really hard to find anything even remotely comparable for colors, based on various things you can find online to help with that. This is another Haunted Frames. I believe this one is Book of Psychic Reading. This one is done on 18 count Gray Magic by Bestitch Me. I recently signed up to their Fabric of the Month, so you will be seeing a lot of Bestitch Me. So apologies in advance if that's an issue. Here's another on Gray Magic. This one should be the Book of Lost Keys. Again, primarily doing these from either stash or what's called for when I have it available. lastly, another on the Oops or Miss Die is the book of Fabled Fungi. All of these I'm at least 25 to about 32% complete on. I kind of was working through it in my very, very limited math skills, and I think if I was working on them consistently, I could get them done relatively quickly, but a major function or dysfunction that I have is ADHD. And if I'm not feeling something, trying to force myself to work on it will just result in nothing happening at all. Not even me not focusing on that. Just nothing at all. I will guilt myself and then accomplish literally nothing. It's very frustrating. I've had to learn to give myself a lot of grace to kind of work around that, or work with it in whatever way seems most tenable. This next one really could do better about centering these. I'm so sorry. Is called I Want to Have Your Rabies, or Rabies, I think is the short name for it. This is by the Witchy Stitcher. This is on Pearl Gray Even Weave, 32 count. I think a few minor substitutions. Again, I'm using that metallic thread just to bring out some interest in color. There's only a little bit on this. This really wouldn't take me long to finish, but again, having the full motivation and interest to continue what I've started has just not always worked with me. Usually it's working against me. I've learned from very, very rough, harsh lessons that trying to force myself just means absolutely nothing is happening in any direction whatsoever. This is a kind of pairing of patterns. They go together, complementary. One is this one, Cara Mia. Both of them are by Witch's Garden Crafts. I'm doing both of them on 14 count Black Ada. This one is in 317, just because that's what I had. And then I'm also doing Cher. Did I write down the DMC for Cher? No, I did not. I think it might be, it's Garnet. I can't remember what the exact number is for it. But I'm doing these as like kind of almost like a his and hers little pillows ultimately, which is one of the very few times when I know what I want to do to finish something. Usually that is not, I'm not so much a final product stitcher as I'm just here for the vibes and whatever happens, happens. For better or worse. But that one I do think would be really cute as little pillows. This is a very tiny start, which is sad because I do really like this pattern. Truly, I could be better about this. I'm so sorry. This is Halloween Triptych. This one is by NARAxStitchPatterns. Another one on that 32 count even weave. This one did not load properly into Pattern Keeper. It kind of duplicated itself, so I'm not exactly sure how far along I am on it. Not very. I just have a tiny bit of this pumpkin, which is sad because this pearl gray is surprisingly, it's like butter to stitch on. I can't explain it any other way. It's so smooth and so nice to stitch on. It's been an absolute joy. Okay. Now we're getting into a couple of the fun ones. This one is The Creation of Witches by, I believe, Raven Coven. Let me double check on that. Yes. I'm doing this on 18 count Spellcraft by Witch's Garden Crafts in Valdani's Aged White Light. And I will also be adding in for the Witch's Hand, Normally I'm not a huge fan of this stereotype, but this color was so pretty that I kind of can't resist. I'm using Cabin in the Woods by Bestitch Me. It's one of their variegated monthly floss options. I think it'll look really pretty for the actual hand for the witch. So I'll be adding that in relatively soon. This didn't take me too long to do. So in theory, it won't take me too long to finish, but again, in theory. I will be doing my other Black Phillip pattern on the same spellcraft, the other portion of this. I think it's stunning. I'm probably just going to do it in whatever's left of that aged white light, because I think there is quite a bit left, and I think it looks beautiful on that. Then we've got this. It is a Quaker Nature sampler. I'm doing this on, it's by Tinsel Cross Stitch. I'm doing an 18 count blush by Witch's Garden Crafts. I'm about 8.19% done. It is not showing up super well. I think the light is kind of blowing this out because it's a very kind of peachy, corally pink. It's pretty saturated. The floss I'm using for this is Pirate and Robin's Bog Witch, which is one of my favorites that I've seen of theirs in person so far. It's just gorgeous. These greens and almost like a green so dark it's navy. It's stunningly beautiful, and it looks amazing on this. Just very subtle variegation. I'm not 100% sure if the camera is able to kind of pick up on some of that or not, but I absolutely love it. It's been a dream to actually use. A recurring thing you'll probably notice is I have a lot of Valdani. I used it for one thing, fell in love, and have been just going ham on it ever since. I also really like Weeks Dye Works. Don't know what it is about it specifically. I just really enjoy it. I can't remember if it's that one or one of the other, or if it's Valdani. I've heard somebody mentioning that one of the things they don't like about it is that it's kind of dry, and I fully understand that. It just doesn't fully, I guess, get in the way of my experience of using it. Okay, this next one is my other long-standing whip, or work in progress. It's quite large, so I might have to do some finagling to get it all in shot, ultimately. Quite large, quote unquote. Compared to some of the things that I've seen people showing, it's not that big at all. But this is Sampler Roses number 2 by 2x2 Stitches. I'm just doing this in white. I started this before I kind of fell in love with variegated floss. And it's done on 14 count navy that looks almost black. Or is it on black? Yeah, I might have actually done this one on black. I did another one by them on navy, so maybe that's where I'm getting thrown off, because this looks black. It either is, or I am just very confused. I've been working little by little. I haven't touched this much this year, but I'm working little by little to try to get the outside border done, because I think that will make me feel very accomplished, very, very much like I've actually made some really good progress on this. Like I said, I barely touched it this calendar year. It has not seen nearly enough love, which is sad, because this would be a very easy one to get like a bit of floss a day in on. Any of my 1 or 2 color ones I think would be very good for that. I just am very bad at actually putting that into practice. That one I am about 34% of the way done on, by the way. But yeah, that is my next oldest whip. I'm not sure which one I started first, this one or the library one. Genuinely could not begin to tell you. This one is one of my current favorites, but I haven't put nearly enough time into it for that, but I still really love it. It is Within a Dream by the Artsy Housewife. I'll have to kind of scroll through this a bit to get it all in ultimately, because it is kind of a long one. I don't have a ton done on it. And I don't think I don't think I updated my percentage here, but it should be about 7%. I mostly was trying to get the inside border done so I could go from there. It didn't load properly into Pattern Keeper. I think it was more of a user issue rather than anything with the pattern, because it duplicated anywhere that the pages overlapped, like it added 2 extra instead of trying to take them away. Genuinely, I think it was a me issue. So I did have to do a little bit of frogging. And there might be 1 or 2 spots I'll have to do some slight finagling, but it shouldn't be too much because I caught it relatively early, but not early enough to just frog the whole thing and start over. I did not have the willpower or fortitude for that. Okay, moving forward. Speaking of not having the willpower or mental fortitude. So, like I said before, I do kind of tight margins on things. And in theory, I think I did cut this correctly. I just oriented it incorrectly on the fabric. So now I have very little left at the top. Like this is what I would feel pretty okay with as a top border. There's still more that needs to be done up here. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I might do this in several different pieces because this is just on 14 count white Ada. So I might kind of just say, too bad, so sad. Do the other sections of this, because this is the spell from Hocus Pocus when they turn Thackeray Binks into a black cat. So there is another section up here, another section below, and then ultimately we'll have him as a cat in the corner. And I don't think I have enough space, so I might do each of the sections of the spell as kind of their own thing. I might have to get creative with it in that way. I'm using a little bit of that metallic floss again to spice up things a little. I think it was supposed to be portrait instead of landscape, ultimately. And I did not do that correctly. So now I am having to actually use my brain to try to figure out what the heck is going on there. This is a very, very small start. I'm not even 100% sure I'm turning this correctly. But this is Demonade. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The spell from Hocus Pocus, let me hop back over to it really quick. Thankfully I didn't put it away. This one is called Black Cat Spell. All I have for the pattern creator is that it was by Ketty, Ketty. And I'm about 21% of the way done with that. I don't know anything else about the designer. I could not remember for the life of me where I got this pattern. What happened with it, it's not showing up on my Etsy purchases, so I'm very confused. This one is Demonade by the Witchy Stitcher on 20 count Ada in Dusk from Fiber on a Whim. This one is not in Pattern Keeper, so I don't know. I know I'm not very far. I'm pretty much at the very beginning of it. But it's a really cute pattern. I was looking forward to it very much, and then I struggled so much with finding what I felt strongly about for a fabric for it. This one is one I am I was extremely excited, and I found out there's a bunch of like quarter stitches, and that kind of gave me a little oof, a little fear in my heart. So I'm trying to figure out where to go from there. Very small start now that I've finally gotten it going. This one is the Crypto Naturalist Sampler by Screaming Heart Designs. It's on 32 count linen in Silvery Moon. I'm only about 1% of the way in. It's going to be pretty extensive, but I'm really excited for it. I think it's just very cool, very on brand with me, very interesting. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to do the contrasting color in. I have a lot of options and a lot of things I think would look great on this because it's such a mild, neutral, pale gray. So we'll get there eventually, but right now I don't know. Here are my 2 Carolyn Mannings. One of them, they're both smalls. I eventually would love to do one of her kind of larger sized pieces because I do really, really like them. This is the Common Buckeye on 14 count cream Ada, which both of them are. I'm about 9.4%. Again, mostly called for with some minor tweaks from Stash, just based on what I had available. This one is called Pipevine Swallowtail. Sir, please. Again, any minor tweaks from Stash as needed, but for the most part what was called for. And this one, I put a little bit more time and love into. I am 12.74%. I do want to spend a bit more time trying to, I think, either do the rest of the black in it or try to start building out more of the central color today, since it is Monday when I'm filming this. And it is, in fact, a Manning Monday. Let's see. Yeah, when I was going through this the first time, I realized I have even more of an obnoxious habit than I realized of doing just enough to say that a project was started, like maybe 50 stitches, and then just figuratively wandering off. I was very annoyed with myself when I realized that. But you know what? It is what it is. We are just trying to make the most of it. This is just called Mandala by Pattern Design Studio, 14 count black Ada. I believe I'm doing this in that same garnet. I have a whole cone of it, so I'm just using it wherever I can. I don't think this one was originally designed for Ada, so a lot of this kind of backstitch smaller design, it's beautiful, very much worth the effort, but it does not follow typical Ada lines on the pattern, and it was driving me batty for a little bit, trying to figure out the best way to do it and have it look right, even if it wasn't perfectly lined up. But again, it's beautiful, very much worth the effort, just a little bit frustrating. This one, again, very small start. Very much enjoyed what I was doing on it, though. This one's called Self-Worship. It is by Night Spirit Studio. I'm doing this in Roxy Floss Code. No, I'm not. That's a different one. So sorry. I'm doing this in Rusty Burgundy. By Valdani. Stunning, beautiful, love it. This one is not in Pattern Keeper, so I'm not sure how far along I am on it. Very excited to get more progress on this. I think I was having issues. I was originally doing it as just this as one strand, and it was a little bit too chunky. It was not working very well, so I did have to divvy it out into its smaller pieces. No, that might be the smaller bit. Yeah, because this is usually in a 3 strand, and it was just a little bit too much. So pulling it into 2 was kind of the best option for that. And I'm not 100% sure what fabric I did this on. I thought at one point it was dusk, but I'm not fully convinced of that because it looks a little bit lighter. Might be Haunted, possibly, but I can't remember for certain. This one I started for the Strawberry Moon Stitch Along, hosted by Marjorie Maid's Stitches. It's called Fractor Raven by Vivsters on Etsy. Most of the patterns I have are from Etsy. Not all of them, but quite a few. This one is on 28 count Malachite from Fiber on a Whim. I am using primarily Okefenokee by Weeks Dye Works. This is Chili by Karen Watercolors. I'm only about 4% of the way done. I do think it is gorgeous. So Okefenokee is this really dark, muted green. Sorry, this is absolute travesty. And then Karen Watercolors has some beautiful variegation in the dyeing. It is a little bit of a pain to use, but it's beautiful and it works great for strawberries, in my personal opinion. I've done multiple floss drops for malachite for various projects. Every single floss drop I've done, no matter what the project is, what's happening with it, stunningly beautiful. I don't know what it is about malachite. It just pulls out beautiful pigments in so many threads and so many flosses. So highly recommend malachite, personally. Let's see. This one, again, small start. Despite my love for the pattern, cannot explain myself. Would love to try. Won't get anywhere. This one is All Hallows Bat by the Witchy Stitcher. I'm doing this on a bit of 18 count Dark and Stormy by Witch's Garden Crafts. Some of it's called for, some of it's from Stash. I'm only about 4% of the way in. And again, I'm using a bit of the metallic thread from Rico Designs because I think it looks really, really good on that. This one... So I have an interesting thing with Ouija boards. I love them as patterns, and I love them as just like general design things. Would never use one. Just don't want to tempt fate that way. But I think they're very, very cool looking. Let's see. This one, the pattern is by Raven Coven. I'm doing this, I believe... This is on that same misdye or oops from Bestitch Me. But it might also be on Dunes by Fiber on a Whim. Not 100% certain. And the floss I'm using for this is Onyx by Weeks Dye Works. Again, I think the variegation in the way that the dye hit on this is beautiful. I think I'm just doing this, one strand, which is unusual for me. I do usually prefer 2 strands, but it works really well with this the specific type of pattern and design. And the final outcome of it just works really well in my mind. Then I have a tiny, embarrassingly small start on Dancing Witches. I am ashamed. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Wicked Cat Stitch. I will do better. I just have a little bit. This is on a mottled orange 18 count from Banana Oil Fabrics. Don't know why that was difficult for me to say. Beautiful. I've used this for a couple projects that will be here in the next little mix. And I'm using another Bestitch Me variegated monthly. This is just a little wad of floss. I'm so sorry. This is in Fudge. It's very beautiful, really pretty browns, and I thought it just kind of complemented the woodcut design and the orange of the fabric really well. I have several of Raven Coven's woodcuts, although I think this is the only one I've started so far. Let's see, what else do I have in this? Oh, a couple things I haven't actually started. Makes sense. I was like, I don't see any progress on any of those little bits of fabric because there wasn't any. This is the pattern I have been doing for an autumn themed stitch along. It is called, I don't know why I keep making those little sounds with my mouth. I'm very sorry. This is Moon Phases with Autumn Colors by Wild Bluebell Patterns on 14 count Black Ada. There's quite a bit that'll be on the sides. I saved them for myself, finished the moons first, because I'm in love with the colors for them. I'm very excited to get to them, but I wanted to kind of build up to it. I think there might be some minor exchange on floss colors from Stash on this one as well. I'm about 31% of the way done with it, though. And the specific sal, I did it again, I'm very sorry. The specific sal for this one is Seasons Ahead. when I was cutting the fabric for it, I was very surprised by the size of it, but I think it'll suit the final design on it very, very well. Because it should be a little bit larger just to really let those colors shine. Bear with me a moment. Does not want to wrangle itself back into its bag. I have a tiny, tiny start on this one. A single letter. This is Make Your Own Magic by Broomsticks and Bobbins. This is more of that Silvery Moon 32 count linen. I am only 2.84%. I plan on using this Pirate and Robin Autumn Harvest for this particular pattern to do a lot of the bit on the outside. I think that'll be gorgeous. Very excited for it. But obviously I'm nowhere near that point yet. Then we've got I believe this is the correct way up. Not 100% sure. This is Witch's Sampler by Contrary Perry on 18 count Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim. For this one, I believe, and this floss will come up again here fairly soon, I'm using Pumpkin Cane by Night Stalker's Calling. I absolutely love their floss in general, but this floss in particular, it is just so much fun. And I'm not doing the entire thing in this. I will be doing 310 or black for a lot of it, but some of the words I've kind of picked out to emphasize in this color in particular. And I am not even a full % of the way complete on that one, so great progress. Truly just astounding. This one is another Night Stalker's Calling, but it's in a slightly different color shade. It's upside down as well, which doesn't help. There we go. This one is called, I think, just Spooky Halloween Sampler by NARAxStitchPatterns again. This is on Dusk by Fiber on a Whim. And this one does not have pumpkin cane, but it does have, I think this is toasted marshmallow. Again, by Night Stalker's Calling. Yes, toasted marshmallow. Beautiful floss. I might outline it just to give it, like, just do a little bit of backstitch in black to help it pop a little bit more, but I'm undecided on that. Then I've also got teeny tiny start on Salem in Memoriam. This one is by the Witchy Stitcher on 18 count Gray Magic again. I've been milking that section of fabric that I ordered. I'm only about 2% done with this one. It's going to be relatively simple. I'm doing that in Mascara by Weeks Dye Works. It's beautiful, just simple black, but it's, I don't know. I really like it. I love DMC 310 quite a bit. I have a lot of projects that include quite a bit of it, but something about that one just really hit me right. Do I even really have a start on that one? No, I don't. Okay. Did it again? I'm very sorry. Now, people who were unfortunate enough to be in the spooky room with me or just in general asked me at any point during Midsummer Stitches what I was working on, this was it. I haven't made any progress since then, so many apologies there. 'Tis the Season to be Spooky. This one is by Luba Davies Atelier, 18 count, Gray Magic again, using that pumpkin cane by Night Stalker's Calling and just simple black. This one surprised me because there are some quarter stitches, and I was wrangling with that. Only about 21% of the way done with it. There is a surprisingly large amount of stitches in Spooky. I think that alone had 800. Because at first I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to finish this weekend. Absolutely not. There's no way at all. So I accepted that and moved forward with my life. Let my ADHD shift me to another project for a bit. We are making good progress. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, but we are chugging right along. Next is a horrible mistake was made during this one, but we're adjusting as best we can. This is, what is the official name for this one? I think I just have it as Equal in Death, which isn't correct. This is by Modern Folk Embroidery. I'm just doing this on, I believe, a 28 count black linen. Using that Valdani Aged White light, because I think it reflects bone pretty well. It's just got like hints of this like really light tan color to it. It seemed good for like an aged bone situation. The mistakes that were made, I was plugging along really well. I was very happy with my progress, and then I realized only after completing all of this and getting up to these letters that they shouldn't have had an extra, like they should have only had one space in between and not two. Don't know why it took me that long to figure it out. I was staring at the pattern the entire time. I cannot explain myself. Truly, I can't. I'm very sorry to Modern Folk Embroidery for thinking I knew better there. I don't know what was happening. And I just do not have it in me to frog all of that. So I will just be basically kind of ignoring a stitch on the edge of the design. There's a lot of beautiful, I wouldn't call them floral, but kind of leaf, vine, plant motifs around the edge there. So I'll just be finding a spot that makes sense to kind of remove a stitch as best I'm able. Let's see. In addition to the cup stitch along, I also started the Major Arcana. I, again, don't have very much. I have a bit for it. For both of these, I'm trying really hard to get a lot of the black done so that everything else is just fill in. But this one, just like with cups, is by... Oh, come on. Witch's Garden Crafts. This is on Dark and Stormy by Witch's Garden Crafts. An 18 count. I am only about 2.31%, and I do have the entire thing loaded into Pattern Keeper. So I do know for sure how little I've done ultimately. I'll probably be adding a little bit more of that metallic Rico thread here and there just for spice, for flavor, for fun. But probably not a lot. Let's see. Oh, my abysmal start for the... Ooh, let's see if I can pronounce it. Huga holiday. I'm doing this in, I believe, the blues by Hands On Design, 18 count cream and sugar Ada. I did change out 926 for Freedom by Simply Shaker Threads. I think it's just a beautiful, like this might be one of my favorite kind of teal colors, faded teal or dusty teal colors. Little bitty start there. And then my similarly small start for the actual Midsummer Stitch Along, the pattern that you kind of received for signing up for it. I mysteriously have 2 needles in this, and I don't know why. Don't have much. Also a trailing thread. We're just going to ignore that for right now. I'm doing this on 28 Count Gothic by Picture This Plus, using Rosie and Lupine by Stitch Me. Those were 2 monthly flosses. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure which one's which. I think this paler one is Rosie. I should have double checked, and I absolutely didn't. But I had these. I thought they contrasted really nicely with each other, so I thought they would make a very cute selection for that particular design, because it was about kind of contrasting shades, or at least contrasting colors in general. Oh, we're in the home stretch. Okay, got just a couple more. One that I am perilously close to finishing, but have had almost negative interest in actually finishing, is called Palmistry. I love it. It's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. I'm just neurospicy, and therefore it is just not happening. Palmistry by the Witchy Stitcher. This is on 20 Count Dunes by Fiber on a Whim. I am doing this in Onyx and Mascara by Weeks Dye Works. Let's see if I can remember this correctly. I couldn't begin to tell you, other than running out of thread and just not finishing it, why the Y isn't complete. Mascara for the hand, Your Future in Hands. Onyx for this bit on the cuff on the wrist and is in your. I will also be doing a lot of the occult symbols in the palm in Onyx, and the palm lines in a single strand of mascara to continue balancing that. There, again, probably be a little bit of that metallic Rico design thread, just because it's pretty and fun. But I'm perilously close to finishing that. Don't know why I haven't. Not counting the back stitching, I'm 94.5%. Then here, another one I am fairly close to finishing, and another bit on that orange modeled by Banana Oil Fabrics, is Every Day is Halloween. This pattern is by Witch's Garden Crafts. I am not sure exactly how far along I am, because this didn't load properly into Pattern Keeper. It just kind of loaded in as if everything counted. So I don't know exactly how far I am, but I know I'm close. There's also a tiny bit on this wing, like, again, kind of hit the end of a bit of floss. Didn't want to start one for just a few stitches, so I'll come back to those at some point, and I'm saving the lettering because I really like the way it was designed for the font for this, so I'm saving that as my treat to finish it up. But this is very cute. It's very pretty. I really like it. The banana oil fabric, excellent choice on my part, if I may say so myself. This is a very tiny start. I did it again. I'm so sorry. This is a very tiny start. Now this pattern does have a swear in it, so if that bothers you, I'm very sorry. It does not bother me. It is Fuck Around and Find Out, and then it has a couple of very fun little guys on either side. This is Witch's Garden Crafts. This is that same mystery fabric that I thought was Dusk, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I could maybe check by seeing what the count is on it, but I just can't be bothered at this exact moment. But I'm doing that in... I don't know what the contrasting color on that one will be. It might be either the cone of red, most likely, that I have, or possibly orange. I have a cone of that as well. I think it's tangerine. We're almost done. This is one of the projects that I was most excited to start. I haven't made a ton of progress on, but I'm enjoying it as I'm working on it. It's also very large, so bear with me while I attempt to wrangle all of the fabric. This is a long dog sampler. This is the Pilgrim. I'm loving it. I'm loving the floss. I'm loving everything about it. Not a huge fan of the fabric I chose, but I can work with it. It's fine. Very excited to keep working on this and then eventually work on yet another. I will probably do many long dog samplers by the time I'm fully done with life. Best way to put that. Let's see, the Pilgrim. So the floss choices I went with were not written down because I'm the worst. Why would I do that to myself? This one is... I do have them. 1 second. Aged black for most of the pattern is going to be an aged black. Anything that has an actual plant vibe to it will be, I think it's Backyard Greenfield. And then anything kind of building or word related, since there are elements of that, will be in Cottage Gray. And they haven't had much of it in stock, so I haven't gotten it yet, but I wanted to get a few of these little guys of chocolate brownies for anything that was animals. I think those will all go really well together. They'll all contrast this really nicely, but predominantly it will be in that aged black for the most of it. And this is 1/1, 18 count, just on white, to try to make sure I have enough floss for it. That is one of the downsides with long dogs, is they require a lot of floss. But I'm loving stitching on, just, creating those motifs, watching them appear, form. Lastly, but absolutely not least, because this is the one I've been working on the most in the past week or two, is my start for Great White Christmas by Boomerang Stitches, or Amity from the Hathaway Stitchers. This is being done on Midnight by Garibaldi's Needlework. It is a 28 count even weave. And the mouth is in Weeks Dye Works Mascara, because I had a bit left. Let's see. Graphite by Weeks Dye Works for the shark. I will be doing... I will be doing the boats in Plymouth Rock by Classic Colorworks. Hopefully it's showing up. It's a very pale blue gray. Barn gray for the snowflakes. That's by Simply Shaker. And then most of the actual pattern will be done in Aged Wine by Valdani. This is one of those things where, again, I started working with Valdani on something, fell in love with it, and I think it'll be really fun to do the majority of the pattern in that. And that is it for current projects, I believe. If I've left anything out, I will try to touch on them when I do an update in maybe a month and a half. I don't know exactly how often I'll be doing specifically stitching related videos. Just kind of depends on whether or not I feel like I have enough to talk about for half an hour or so. I do have some plans this year to kind of also get into a little bit about me. This year I will be turning 40. I'm not thrilled about it, but it is what it is. I don't know why. Like, I don't mind the signs of aging that have been happening because I've got some gray hairs. Those are fine. That's whatever. Anything related, that part's fine. I don't mind that part. For whatever reason, just the literal age that I am turning is a nuisance and a bother to me. It's fine. Everything's fine. I have a few plans. I have vague ideas of possibly doing a 40 starts, but also 40 finishes while I'm 40. And I have a few very specific ideas on that. I am going to take a short break right now, though. You won't notice anything, to do kind of that secondary part with a little bit about me as well as my plans, not in that order. Flip that, reverse it. But I want to kind of set up I'm going to basically put some floss on the bobbins. There's at least some visual interest while I'm doing that portion. All right, for you guys, it should have only been a few moments. For me, it was a couple of hours. I wandered off, I ate a snack, made a list of things to mention for upcoming projects, and a very loose script for the next little bit. As I mentioned, I'm just going to this is mostly going to be an audio portion, but for a little bit of visual interest, I will be putting some floss on bobbins to prepare for the Plants in Petrichor stitch along by Fine Frog Stitching. After doing their Femurs and Fungi stitch along, I trust them with everything. I loved doing that so much. So I will be prepping my floss for that. On some bobbins, just my preferred way of doing things. Everyone's got their own thing, and that's wonderful. But this is, like I said, mostly going to be an audio thing. This will just be here as some vague visual interest, if you so desire, while I work on that. That said, to go over some future plans, I have quite a few. They're very general. I have no timeline for a lot of them. It's just when they happen, they happen. Two of them, actually three. I'm so sorry. Three of them are upcoming mystery stitch-alongs with regular timed releases. I will be trying to keep up with those. They haven't started yet. One of them is this one, the Plants in Petrichor stitch-along. Another that just started, I have not started working on it yet, is the Monster House stitch-along by Satsuma Street. It will be my first Satsuma Street pattern. And I should be receiving the last bits that I'm waiting for, which include floss and a possible / hopeful fabric choice for it. Today, in theory, it was supposed to be here 2 days ago and hasn't actually arrived through no fault of where I purchased it from. All faults to our local postal service. They are very hardworking people, I'm aware, but they're also, I don't know what happens there. I'm just very confused sometimes. Anyway, in theory, that'll be arriving later today, and then I will be able to actually get that started. And then the third one that is kind of a timed release I just saw a post about it today. I'm sure it was mentioned prior, but it's by Stitch Crypt. It's called The Study of Skulls. I have the pattern and everything for, but I have not started their Morbid Curiosities, or Cabinet of Curiosities. So I know I really like their stitch-alongs. This one's one that they don't even have up for sale yet. I think they've just started mentioning it on social media. So I will be doing that one, probably, almost certainly. Other than that, most of what I will be working on are just random, like Instagram stitch-alongs or something similar, or just other projects that I've had my eye on for a while. And I will try to specify as I go through this list. A bunch of these are actually stitch-alongs that have already been fully finished and released. They might have been mysteries at the beginning, but aren't at this moment anymore. I just realized you can't even see any of what I'm doing. Not that it is, horribly exciting, but it at least gives something to look at. Let's see. So other stitch-alongs that are or were at the time mysteries. The James Webb Telescope stitch-along. I forgot to grab the creator of that one. I grabbed everything else. I'll go ahead and post that somewhere. The Deadly Aquarium stitch-along by Little Crow Cross Stitch. I did the Greenhouse of Oddities back when that came out, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it was phenomenal. Very fun, very enjoyable. Loved doing it. I finished it. I was not on time with it. I finished it, I think, in January this year. But I absolutely loved working on it. So I know I'm going to love the Deadly Aquarium. I just wasn't able to start it when it actually was initially begun. I might wait until it's either mostly out or entirely out before really getting into it, but I am looking forward to it. Then there is the Morbid Curiosity stitch-along. Like I said, that one's fully out by Stitch Crypt, and I have the stuff for it. I just need to actually get started on it. Another one I have everything for but haven't done is there's a Dungeons and Dragons adventure map by Taylor and Cromwell. I've had that for forever. One of the fun things about it is it's a mystery. Like, they have options for each of the rooms. It's like a building map rather than an entire, like, country map, so to speak. And you roll dice to find out what will be in each room. So you could do multiple variations on the same building and get different options each time, which I might do some of. Then there is the Sword Stitch-along by Witch's Garden Crafts. Like I mentioned, I'm doing the Major Arcana and Cups already. I want to go ahead and do Swords as well. I think that one might either be currently in progress or have recently finished. I can't remember for sure. So I will be late to the game on that one as well, and that's totally fine. Then there is something called the Mysterious Adventure Project by Ink Circles. Hilariously, when I first saw everything for that one, it kind of freaked me out because it was a lot of, just go with whatever you think looks nice here. You don't have to, it didn't give you firm instructions. It was a lot of, you decide what your vibes are for this, and I was not ready for it when I first got the pattern. I didn't realize that was what it was going to be like. Now I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm excited, curious, eager, etc. At the time, I was losing my mind over it. I was like, I don't know. I just don't. I need you to tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. Why are you trusting me to know what to do? Losing my mind over it. Much calmer now. Everything's going to be fine. Sure. Let's see. Okay, so other mystery stitch-alongs. There's a couple that I've seen people doing. Goblin Moonlit Market by Urban Stitches. That looked really cool. Pixel Dragon Adventures by Flossy Fox Shop. I saw that one on Etsy and it looked cute, or at least what I could see of it looked very cute. Not my usual style, but one I am 1000%. I'm not, like, I have a general aesthetic, but I'm not strict to it. You know, if something looks interesting or neat, I will 1000% do it. The Halloween Movie Night by Atomic Tiki Pins. I think that one was originally a mystery, but it is fully released and I will be getting the entire pattern for that one. Haunted Library by Lola Crow. That one's also fully released and I will be working on that one at some point. The Herbalist Stitch Along by World on a String. That one also I've seen a couple people doing. It looked really fun, really beautiful. Forest Fairy Tale by Quaternion Creations. There's another one by them, I think. Maybe not. I thought there was. I think I'm going to start with that one and see how I feel and then go from there, was what I was going to do with that one. As You Wish, a mystery stitch-along related to Princess Bride. That one's by Olivia Lee Studios. That was the creator for the I Put a Spell on You stitch-along that I mentioned before. They had a small start on. They also have one based on the movie Legend with the darkness specifically. I'm very excited about that one. Not too many people that I've talked to even remember that movie, which is fair. It's very much a fever dream from the 80s, like so many 80s movies. Which is why I love them. That's like 80s fantasy is one of my favorite genres because it is so bonkers and has so many childhood memories of mine tied into it. There's an Addams Family Stitch-along by Just Stitch Design that looked cute. The Haunting of a Sal by Something Elf Designs. A Whovian Mystery Sal by The Kosher Stitcher. Partially doing that for my partner who, I enjoy Doctor Who and I've kept up with some of it. They're much more caught up with everything and much more interested in a lot of it. I am a casual enjoyer, in contrast. And then there's one that I think was just a kind of a side cut of a castle stitch along by Dots and Spots Shop. And then, of course, the Supernatural Stitch-along and the Cryptid Stitch-along by the Witchy Stitcher. I think those are mysteries, but one of them might already be done. I can't remember. One that I don't believe is a mystery one is Hey You Guys by Sewing Board. As in I am bored, not this is an ironing board kind of situation. And that one's based on The Goonies, another wonderful 80s movie. I have the pattern for Modern Folk Embroideries, No Time Like the Present. I have kind of specific ideas of what I want to do for the floss on that one, and I haven't had a chance or the memory to get the floss whenever I have the money for it. It just completely slips my mind. So at some point I will be getting the floss for that. I'll probably just do it on 18 count white Aida, let the floss really shine through since a lot of it's pretty covered anyway. And then there are a few Instagram stitch-alongs. So these are ones where you kind of pick a pattern that fits, or they'll mention a pattern. Is it Cross Stitch Salander? I look at it constantly. You'd think I'd be able to remember the name of it. I'll put it on the screen. It's wonderful. It's being kept up by the Hathaway Stitchers and I know they go by Alex, but I can't remember their handle. So I'll put that as well. They put in a lot of work to keep that up, and it's wonderful. So I will be... I kind of casually fall into a few of those. I'm not super intense about it, but I do try to follow those on my Instagram, which is the same handle, Stitchy Witchy Bee. And for that, we've got, for the Farewell to Summer Stitch Along, it involves mermaids. I'm going to be doing Siren of the Sea by Autumn Lane Stitching. I'm not a huge fan of mermaids unless it's more like a darker look at them, a little bit more macabre. I have very distinct and intense memories as a child of reading the original Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid and being wonderfully traumatized by it. Like it stuck with me in a great way. Let's see. For Quakerween, there's Halloween Quaker by Lila's Studio, and then Autumn is Joyful. There's pattern by the same name, Autumn is Joyful by Lila's Studio. I want to do the dark version of Golden Delicious by the Artsy Housewife for Two Kinds of Delicious. There's one where you pick any Blackbird design pattern. I wanted to do Away We Ride. Another one, Let's GPS Together for Glendon Place Studios, or just Glendon Place pattern. I want to do Ghoul School. Geraldine's Flowers Stitch Along. I want to do Geraldine's Flowers by the Artsy Housewife. Halloween Hijinks by Carolyn Manning for a Stitch Along by the same name. And then I just saw one by Dirty Annie's Southern Style. They've been putting out these cat-related tarot cards using the Major Arcana. And I think I'm going to do The Magician for that one, a favored of the Major Arcana for a variety of reasons. And then we're getting into the handful of full coverage that I want to do. In addition to the one I've already started, Lady in the Blue Dress in the Library, there is also a few other paintings. Death and Life by Gustav Klimt. I have the pattern from Alaton Embroidery that I want to do. I want to do this specific version. There's a number of versions of Alphonse Mucha's Four Seasons. I want to do this specific one. I got that pattern from Diana70 on Etsy. Oop, I just tilted my camera. I'm so sorry. Not that it's showing much, but you know, it's the principle. It's going to be huge. If I do that the way I originally planned, it's going to be just on 14 count my Ada. I might switch that to 18 count. I have a whole bunch of Ada, like I have it already. I should use it up. It won't be a huge problem. It's just going to be massive. I can't remember the dimensions off the top of my head, but I do remember it was quite large. Then there is also Mischief and Repose by John William Godward from the same Etsy seller, Diana70. I love this painting. I don't know. There's a lot of paintings, so I just love them, and I'm like, why not do those as an entire thing? One of my favorite artists is, I don't know if it's Louis or Louis, Ricardo Falero. I really want to do Witches Going to Their Sabbath. What I can't decide on this one, and this is just going to be a general discussion. Oops. For some of these, my original plan was just to do them straight up, regular, full cross, etc. For some of these, I'm not sure if I want to do this, like do most of this, but have some of these just like vague clouds and colorful bits that are in the background, have that be a fabric that looks like that, and save myself a little bit of strife. I don't entirely know how I want to handle that. That is certainly an option and very much one I'm considering. And then for the last full coverage piece that I have already, I have all the stuff for, it's just a matter of getting it started. I think I will be starting this one and which is going to their Sabbath on my birthday itself. It's coming up in just over a month because both of them are very much going to be labors of love, and that seems fitting. Is we're gonna use this as a trigger warning if you have issues with blood, intense gore. Oops. It is the painting Mephisto by Christopher Lavelle. The pattern was prepared for cross stitch by Unconventional X Stitch. I am extremely interested in this. I think it's going to be a beautiful project. It's also going to be absolutely massive. I think it's going to be like movie poster size, at least if I'm doing it on 14. I think I have that one set to go in 16 count, so it'll be at least a tiny bit smaller, but not by much. I'm so excited for it. It's horrific and stunning, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited. What I might do for this one is do him in full cross and then everything in the background as tent stitch. Not sure. I'm debating. I think that would be kind of a good way that way even if there is a bit of difference in how the background looks, it would just make him pop more, which I am totally fine with. I don't know. We'll see. There's a few other Falero paintings I've kind of got my eye on as well, but the Witch is going to their Sabbath is my absolute favorite. Desperately want to do something with that one. So yeah, those are the full coverage pieces that I'm going to do. And here I was worried I was going to run out of floss. I'm talking fast and cutting slow. So I guess that will conclude our definite plans. Oh, what? No, let me back up. So I briefly mentioned, unless I cut it out, I'm going to be doing 40 starts for 40. I will be turning 40 in about a month. And I'm also hoping to do 40 finishes. Obviously, not the same things, because some of these are going to be huge. But that just, one, it's justification and self-enabling to start 40 things. Yay. But also encouragement to actually try to finish 40 things as well, at least. I think I might also do one of the Hawk Run Hollow patterns. Which one? I'm not 100% sure of. I love a lot of them. I just need to decide which one specifically. But a couple of these, getting the actual supplies together will be part of my any birthday money I get, anything like that. Anybody who's I don't know what to get you, I'm just going to say gift cards so that I can get the supplies for these things. And I think that'll work out fine for me and for them. But yes, that I think will conclude the plans portion. In terms of kind of related to my age and how long I've been doing this, I honestly don't know. So I'm horrible with time. Genuinely awful. I feel like I will place an order and it'll take a week to get here, and then I find out it's been 2 days or 3 days. It's just and it also goes the other way. I'm oh, didn't that just happen? No, it was months ago. I have no idea. My sense of time has always been deeply, deeply skewed. So I think I really I initially got into cross stitch in my mid-teens, maybe. Not 100% sure on that, but that seems about right. Kind of on and off, dabbled with it, did a bunch of other things. Generally very distracted. But I got back into it and embroidery probably about 6 years ago. Mostly embroidery at the time. Because one of the things that kept me from really going hard into it all this time, because I've enjoyed it every time I've gone into it, was up until recently, I couldn't find any patterns that kind of matched my aesthetic, my vibe, the things I would want to spend, hours and hours and hours working on. No shade to these types of patterns. They just are not my thing. The old school, like dimensions kits, where it's wolves or Native American imagery or Thomas Kincaid paintings in cross-stitch form. Again, nothing wrong with, Thomas Kincaid isn't the best person, but no shade to the kits, no shade to people who like them. They're just not my thing as much. So I enjoyed the hobby. I just couldn't get into it the way that I kept wanting to until recently. And about 6 or 7 years ago, when I started diving into embroidery, part of what made that so appealing to me was that it seemed to have a little bit more freedom, and it was easier for me at the time. I'm sure some of this stuff was already starting to show up, but it was easier for me at the time to find patterns and artists and things like that were my aesthetic, or that made it easy for me to kind of make my own thing, just doing really, really simple, basic embroidery stitches. I'll see if I can I've been trying to find pictures of some of the things that I did, or at least find them so I can take pictures. The ones that I think of all the time, I did really, really simple embroidery, like kind of a his and hers piece. From Beetlejuice, they're like extra horrific, monstrous looks when they're trying to scare out the deets. Like that's the main one I think of, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And embroidery gave me it was more simplistic, so I was able to do like traced outlines of things where I was like, okay, I can just literally put tracing paper over a tablet or screen, trace out this design, and make something for myself that I can follow. It just seemed a lot more user-friendly in that respect for me to get me the types of patterns that I wanted to do. As many people did post-COVID, I started getting more into it. I started to find more of the types of things that I'm actually interested in. It's everywhere, turns out, which is wonderful. And I would say spring of 2023, I got invested enough, or at least late winter, early spring, I got invested enough that I started like really getting supplies, getting some like bulk orders of 14 count Ada. I hadn't even delved into the world of hand dyed floss or fabric at the time. I still hadn't even found that. Oops. I was kind of slow to discover a bunch of that. I knew there's something other than DMC, but I didn't really know what. Like I'd heard Anchor before, but I was like, it's just the same thing, but from a different provider. Like I didn't know any of that. Had not delved that deep. That was probably as recent as the beginning of this year, 2024, was when I really started being like, oh, wait. Oh, all of this stuff exists. How did I somehow just completely not see this? Your guess is as good as mine. I have absolutely no idea. And after that, I was completely hooked. I've been, since this, like, beginning of this calendar year, I would say, late last year, early this year, I've been stitching almost every day. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. Am I getting much progress? Not necessarily. As I mentioned, I've learned that the more I try to force myself to do something, the less I will do of anything. It's not even that I'll distract myself with something else. No, I'll feel too guilty to do something else. So I just won't do anything at all. And it's worse than just following whatever it is my ADHD and my attention wants to do in that moment. Because then I at least stand a chance of, one, making progress on literally anything, and two, using this like initial reward to force myself to do some actual task after that. Kind of backwards, but listen, if it works, it works. I'm not going to argue with whatever does work. A little bit more about myself beyond just that. I do have a couple of chronic illnesses, one of them that heavily affects my metabolism, so that's fun and exciting. And I'm currently unable to get my medication for that, so that's extra exciting. And I have something called lymphedema in both of my legs. It's basically the lymphatic system is not able to function properly or drain properly. So I have a lot of, to most people it would look extreme right now, and it probably is. For me, I'm doing much better than I was for a very long time. So my legs are very swollen. I cannot wear anything other than one very specific type of sandal. They literally will not fit on my feet. So I have one pair of shoes, and that's it. I have to wear compression socks all day, every day. And doing anything, and I mean, even sitting in a regular chair with my feet on the ground, my legs take as a declaration of war, and they will immediately start swelling. And it's very painful and uncomfortable. Because my lymphatic system does not work properly, I also have atrocious immune defenses to literally everything. So I stay in a lot. Thankfully, I am able to work from home, I would say 90% of the time with my job. I am very, very grateful for that. I work at a nonprofit. My position changed recently. I was doing a lot of kind of database data entry research to make sure the information we had was accurate. I loved that position. It was very much my happy place. But we are going through a lot of changes at my nonprofit. It's been a really rough 7 months. And with that came an offer for a change in position that, while more stressful, was also a lot more stable in terms of job security. So I ended up, even though I didn't necessarily want the new position, it felt like the smartest option. So I did take that. And like I said, it's very stressful, but you know what? We're making it through. It is making my time stitching that much more vital, have that much more of a mental health impact to be able to do that. So that's a mixed blessing. I am currently living in Northwest Arkansas. I am not built for these climates. I am of northern peasant stock. This heat and humidity is just kicking my butt. We've lived here for a while, and it's just, I've never even remotely gotten used to it. It remains just, it's not even hell. I imagine hell would be much drier climate. I think of, like Phoenix, Albuquerque. No, this is like Satan's testicles. We're not in a good place. This is not a comfortable. I was born and raised in Iowa, like all over the state. So this is not for me. This is just not for me. But this is where I am now, and this is where I will be for at least a bit longer, because it's just much easier and much cheaper than trying to move. For a number of years now, my brother has been living with me, and that's been wonderful. He is likely going to be moving out by the end of the year, though, so that will be an adjustment for both of us. Especially, like, one, it's just, so there's a big age difference between us, and he's a lot younger. So it'll just be me having to, deal with, like, a much older sibling's version of empty nest syndrome. But also, because I am chronically ill and there's a lot I physically can't do, he's been extremely helpful in those respects, and having to kind of adjust and look elsewhere for help with that is going to be a bit humbling, but necessary. Let's see. The only other things I'll have for this before we wrap up for this intro video, two things. One, this channel might also include a few things other than just cross stitch. That'll be by far the biggest thing, but there might occasionally be a little bit for embroidery, me testing out a few other like fiber arts, possibly doing something with like paint by number or diamond painting. I do enjoy diamond painting as well. I don't think I've done anything this year. I've been so focused in on this, but I do enjoy that as well. It scratches a similar itch for me. There might also be stuff with like adult coloring books, and by adult I don't necessarily mean, like R-rated, but I mean, some of them do have horror themes, so there's that element to things. There might also be some conversations about books or just brief bits about movies, anything like that. I'll be very, very clear if that is going to be included. I might just do those solely as like shorts if I don't have a lot to say but still want to give an opinion on something. That way it's not kind of clogging up the regular videos, but we'll see. I'll just kind of play that by ear, I think. The only other thing is during midsummer stitching, my love of random factoids was revealed and seemed to be entertaining to people. So in the spirit of the fact that the Olympics are currently going on, I wanted to direct all of you to check out, and I will include a link to one of my favorite articles for it. Specifically, the 1904 Olympic Marathon. It was an absolutely bonkers situation in which several people got bitten by dogs. They had to dodge traffic because the race coordinators did not actually clear the route properly. Several athletes drank poison intentionally. One person was stealing peaches and was almost arrested. Somebody hitchhiked. A number of people passed out. I think somebody might have even ended up dying. It was just an absolute mess. So I highly recommend checking out the 1904 Olympic Marathon. Like I said, I will have a link to a Smithsonian article about it. It is just a weird time. There's also a great episode on the Dollop podcast about it. I think I had briefly heard about it somewhere before that, but that was what really clued me in. But for a brief, complete factoid, I mentioned this during one of the stitching groups I was in, but for anybody who wasn't there, one of the only natural predators for the moose is orca whales or killer whales, because moose are so big, there's very little else that will try to attack them. And the only reason the orcas work is because moose dive along the shoreline to eat some of the like kelp and mosses and things kind of near the shoreline sea floor. They can apparently close their nostrils so that they are able to hold their breath without inhaling a bunch of water. And they'll get just close enough that orcas are like, ooh, a tasty snack that we don't usually get to have very often. Wonderful. Yeah, so random factoids. I will try to probably include one at the end of all my videos just because that is fun. Yeah, that's it. I will try to have a better like intro and outro and all of that, but for now, this is a pretty good start, I think, hopefully, fingers crossed. I look forward to interacting with anybody who finds this interesting, who finds the content that I'll be doing like appealing or has a similar aesthetic, similar preferences and patterns. I love watching Flosstubes. I will try to start including channels that I really like, people to follow, Instagrams to follow, anything like that going forward. I just didn't want to make this any longer than it already is. Yeah, just thank you very much for your time and attention if you give it. Have a wonderful day. Remember, there's always tomorrow, and that's a good thing. Bye.